Hey everyone, welcome back to The Data Pour. I'm Steve McLaughlin, Head of Data at EFON Technologies. My guest today is Caroline Whiteman from Capital Bank, SVP of Strategic Delivery and Data Services. Caroline, great to see you. We're here at Barkada. Let's go have some wine.
Let's do it.
Okay. Caroline, where I would love to start is, as I start with everybody, how'd you get into technology? What was the first time that you were like, that's the path I want to take?
That's interesting. I always say a little bit by accident.
Sure.
But maybe it was not an accident.
Okay, I like
Who
that.
knows? But my background is more in like business. Started as a product manager,
Right.
always in financial services. And the company I worked for, Capital One, pivoted from like being like just a credit card company, bank, and
Yes.
offering like credit services, banking products, to really having that vision that technology is what's going to make the
right.
difference, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how good is your online banking platform? How frictionless and seamless is your experience through technology, right? That experience.
Right.
And so that's really, I think, where my role shifted from product business to really like anchoring on technology to offer that great experience to
Yeah.
our customers.
That makes sense. And product is such an interesting like evolution that it really has become at the center of technology and business. So I think most product people probably feel a close kinship to technology where, maybe they wouldn't have predicted that ahead of time. One of the things we talk about all the time is product and data are very much kind of dovetailing to each other
Yep.
because they're both just so important to the business. And that's interesting. You were at Capital One. Maybe I won't ask you when, but at a very transformative time, right? So
Yes, I was there for a very long time, 16 years. So, I actually started in the French business, and then I came to the US in 2003.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, huge transition because they were really starting to enter the French market as a challenger.
Right.
It ended up not working out, right? But then I came to the US, and such a big company that's anchored so heavily on data. IBS, information-based strategy, was really what they were going after.
Sure.
And so I really saw that transformation, like you said, from like being a pure like credit card company to like, we're going to be really good about leveraging data to offer the right service, right
Sure.
product to our customers, to like pivoting into like, oh, technology is going to be the thing that's going to make us win in the
Right.
market. So
Yeah, and it's working.
it is working.
I mean, they're still doing that. And tell me about your pivot into, now you went from one of the biggest banks in the world, soon to be the second largest, I think, to a regional bank. Is regional the right?
Community bank,
Bank,
but
yeah.
we do also have a national secure card business. So
That's right, yeah.
that's what I found really interesting. So I joined Capital Bank, which is confusing because it's really close to Capital One.
I
Bank.
almost type it sometimes. I almost type Capital One, and I'm like, no.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Hey, my dad still think I'm working for the
Yeah.
same company,
Yeah,
so we're
fair
good there.
My mom thinks I'm a computer tech, so yeah, I get it.
But what I found really interesting is, taking all the knowledge you've had, and I think I was getting a little bit lost in a bigger company,
Yeah.
and I wanted to, having been also in DC for now about 20 years,
Sure.
I wanted to join an organization that was really strongly anchored in the community. And
yes.
so Capital Bank is a commercial bank, started that way,
Right.
and then grew into a national secure card business that's fully
Right.
online. So I found that really interesting.
Yeah,
about
that's
having-
that's almost like what made Capital One work combined with a traditional community bank. So I could see what's attractive about that to you.
Yep,
That's cool. That's a
Yeah.
great organization.
I love it.
All right, well, tell me what we're drinking here.
All right, so I think this is one of the first day going to the summer. It's quite hot
Yes,
outside.
yeah, it's
And
lovely.
exactly, right? So I think this is a really good time to pivot into like some colder beverages.
Yeah,
And so I mentioned earlier, born and raised in France, so wine is a huge part of my life.
Right.
So here we are with an amazing like Crémant d'Alsace from France.
okay. What does that mean?
That means that so you can only be a champagne if you're made in Champagne of region.
yeah.
Anything else is called something different. So it is still really delicious, but it is not made in the Champagne region.
I
So
see. Gotcha.
very light, lots of little bubbles,
Okay.
and I think we should try it because
I'm ready. Well, so cheers. What's the appropriate?
it's santé.
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 All right.
What do you think?
That is fantastic. I love that. You describe it. You are a sommelier. I'm gonna ask you some more questions about that, but I would love to hear you. Give me a debrief on this, because I'm like, that's yummy, and that's the extent of my vocabulary when it comes to wine.
That means you like it. It's great,
Okay,
right?
fair enough. That's fair.
But usually the way you look at a wine is first you look at the appearance, right? How
Okay.
does it look to you? Kind of the color, the bubbles.
What am I looking for, bubbles-wise?
So are they like big, small? Do you have a lot?
Which does affect the flavor. I know this because I did an episode on seltzer water, and the different seltzers have different size bubbles, and that affects how it impacts your taste buds.
That's right.
So I do know
does it
that.
taste more refined on your tongue,
Yeah,
or does
that's
it kind
right.
of feel more aggressive? So how do the bubbles feel for you?
They do not feel harsh or aggressive. They feel very kind of mellow.
So all good.
Yeah.
Second thing is like, usually you want to smell a bit.
Okay.
Do you smell
Yep.
anything? It's a little harder on bubbly wine.
Yeah. I mean, it smells, I don't know how to describe it. I don't want to say floral because I feel like that's an easy one, but it does smell slightly
That's
floral.
a really good one.
What do you smell though? Tell
A
me
little
what you're
bit citrusy too,
Yeah,
right? That's
uh-huh.
the freshness.
Yeah.
And I smell, but that's personal, and that's why you can also say what comes to your mind when you like taste
Right.
wine. A little bit of like stone fruit, like peach, or
yeah,
like you
okay.
said, the blossom that you probably
Yeah.
smell.
Let me
So
give
that's
it
the second thing you do. You just smell, and then you just try it.
It's pretty lovely. It's really delicious. I like that a lot.
know.
Yeah.
And the big thing for white wine is like whether it's like dry or sweet or acid and things like that. So
Right.
this one is very well balanced.
Yeah,
Easy
it is.
drinking.
Yeah, it is. I like
That's
that
what
a
you're
lot.
going for.
Let's talk about data. We talk about technology a little bit. I love to ask people, when was the moment you realized how important data was? Because I think, you mentioned sometimes it's kind of accidental. Some people come into it and they just sort of have this epiphany, or maybe it's not until you see something in action. Do you know, is there a moment or a time in your life that you were like, I get it, data's really important and here's why?
For me, it was almost the opposite. Like, I couldn't see a time where I didn't think that data was important.
Okay.
And it's
Yeah.
probably because I started my career with Capital One, like I mentioned
Sure.
earlier, and everything was based on data, right?
They were data-driven before data-driven was a thing,
Yes.
right?
And
They
like,
really were.
I
Yeah.
remember my first job was like, okay, we're trying to like enter the French market, right?
Right.
And like, we don't know how we're gonna win, but go and find us data.
Sure,
And the first thing we had to do was really try to find like places where we could have a list of customers
Right.
with a lot of attributes and data so that we would understand what their preferences were,
Right.
what their shopping habits were, and things like that.
Right.
So the thought always kind of started with data to support something that we were looking for, but it was a means to an end, right? I never thought about
Sure.
data like my job or like
Yeah.
what I was doing,
Right.
but more like
It was a tool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or this is what's going to make me succeed or win or
Right.
enter that market. So
Right.
it's always been at the forefront, and so yeah, just like
Yeah, that makes sense. You've been like born to data. Whereas other people are like, oh, I had this epiphany. You're like, no, it's been since day one.
But I never
That's
thought
great.
about it that way. That's interesting,
Yeah.
right? That's why I thought that, like, for me, when I joined Capital Bank 5 years ago and I started
Right.
leading the data services team, it was like, oh, now I'm entering the data world. And I was like, no,
Right.
wait a minute.
I've already done this. I've
Not
already
really.
been doing
This is just
Yeah.
like I'm looking into under the hood, basically. For me,
Sure,
it was like I've
sure.
always been driving the car, right? But I never thought about looking
It's a
under
good
the hood.
analogy. You were a consumer of data,
That's right.
and now you are helping the producers of data, basically.
That's right.
Yeah, that's interesting. Talk to me about data management. Like, how have you thought about data management? Has your thinking shifted as you've shifted in that role? Because you used to hopefully rely on good, clean, accurate data. I'm sure you had some moments where it wasn't those things, and that was frustrating. And now you're responsible for that in some ways.
Yep.
What's that journey been like?
A little bit like I said earlier, it's like uncovering what is under the hood and understanding how an engine works, right?
Right.
Because for me, it was more like, okay, I got data. I need to make sure, like you said, it's good data.
Sure.
So I would always like think about it from the user consumer standpoint.
Yeah.
But now realizing everything that goes into actually giving you good data has been eye-opening, and it's
Yeah.
extremely challenging, right? So
It's
everything.
way harder than a lot of people
Oh my
realize,
gosh.
right?
I think that's what. Yes.
And it's getting harder because now everybody's data driven and they want all the sources combined. And so data management, the problem is not getting easier. It's getting harder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it really starts with like understanding, you know, where the data coming from. I was talking the other day to somebody in our operations team, and that person is doing a lot of data entry for loans, and like just like ensuring that she understands how critical her role is, right? Because she's the first one entering a piece of data into the system that will be used all the way to the end, right? And so that's all part of data management.
Yes.
But people don't see it that way. It's
No,
more like, no, I'm
agreed.
just doing data entry, right?
Right.
So
But I love that you're thinking about that because, you know, you've heard me on my soapbox before. Like, data is so important to organizations, and everyone's a data steward. Everyone's responsible for data, but they don't realize it, and it doesn't get communicated or talked about in the way that I think it could. And that's a great example of, yeah, even front end data entry, they enter it wrong, that propagates through the whole system.
Yep.
And they enter it right, and it's great data that can be relied upon. So yeah, everybody's role matters when it comes to data. That to me is super interesting and kind of eye-opening.
and it's hard because, like you said, people don't see it that way, right? I manage the data team, and it's always like, oh, okay, the data team will take care of that, right? And you're like, wait.
Yeah.
We only do as good as the data that we have,
That's right.
right? So
That's right. Yeah. Oh, that's good. I'm sure we could pontificate on that all day long, but it is interesting, and I think we are seeing that now, the like cultural shift of recognizing that, but still not fully, not throughout an entire organization. And I think we're still years away from that.
if you have any tips, I'm all ears,
Yeah.
because that's
You know
really
what?
what we're trying to do.
Well, I'll say this, and then I'll ask you the same. But I've been thinking a lot, really over the last year, with AI becoming so front and center in the mainstream consciousness. And I think that's a great opportunity for people to understand that, hey, this is all just based upon the data that it has.
Yep.
And the same thing can be said about how an organization makes decisions. And so I feel like you can show people like, hey, when it does something wrong, that's because it had a bad data, or, you know, whatever led to this hallucination or whatever, you could argue is because it's just doing what it can with what it has.
Yep.
And so that's an easier analogy than just this vague, like, enter the data right because it's really important for us, and people don't care about that. But now we're talking about AI and how it's impacting things, and it's like, it's almost like a fresh entry point for the conversation. I don't know, what have you found? Are people I know people are talking about AI. What are they thinking?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like data, right? It's like, or even like wine. You said earlier, I know nothing about wine, right? It's just like, it's this thing
Don't
that's
out
a
me.
little bit.
That was off camera.
Oh crap!
That was off camera.
Scratch that. But you know, so I'll make the analogy with the wine since we're drinking here, this delicious
of course.
Cremant. A lot of people say about wine, I don't know anything, right? It's like this complicated thing, and
Yeah,
I'm afraid about like I'll just stick to what I know, right?
Sure.
And I think it's a little bit of the same about data and also about AI, right? It's just like
Yeah.
people are. There's just almost that like psychological barrier about like this is too much for me. So I think the
Yeah.
more, you're right, we can make it relevant to them or show the role that they play,
Sure.
or make it real by using something that plays in their everyday life.
Right.
I think that's the winning path probably, and that's what we're trying to do right now. Is we're really trying to find, you know, with AI, cases where we can easily show somebody like, here's how you can use AI in your daily job or task, or
Right.
it's really not much more complicated than talking to somebody else and asking questions and getting them to help you, right?
That's right. And you know, I love the analogy, and I'm even thinking about it like interacting with a ChatGPT. You know, it's prompt engineering. That sounds scary.
Yes.
It's just asking questions and giving rules and parameters. It's way easier than maybe even like for me, like I don't know enough about wine to have the conversation, but it's probably a lot easier than it is in my head. But I hear, and it's intimidating.
Yeah.
It's intimidating, and I'm sure for people, even terms like prompt engineering feel deliberately obfuscating or like overcomplicating, but really it's pretty straightforward. You just tell it. You just say what you want and give it rules. That's all prompt engine. It's context setting.
Yep.
Prompting.
Yeah, if people can understand the complexities in the back end, right?
Right.
AI is super complex. I could not be
Very. Yes,
but
of
like
course.
what I'm saying is like the usage of it is
Right.
so much easier, right?
Right,
And
right.
so I don't know. I think about it a lot about like how I talk to my kids and like
Yeah.
be like I provide the context, I explain. If they
Yeah.
get it wrong, I add more
That's right.
information. If people can think about it almost like talking to a kid and be very like,
It's really good.
you know, like I said, just providing that additional information and redirecting it
Being
as
very explicit in what you
Yeah.
expect.
yes, and
Yeah.
not to say that like AI is not smart, but you just have to provide that added hand-holding or
Sure.
context or information that
Right.
the same you would when you educate and help your children grow
Yeah, no,
and get smarter.
that's a great way to think about it because it's not really it's parroting. It's not really truly thinking about what you're saying. It's parroting in a very in a way that empirically works. But the more context you give it, the easier time it has because it doesn't make connections like
Yep.
humans do. I mean, this is maybe only true for a little while, but in a year when someone watches
Right.
this, they're like, that's not true anymore. But yeah, that's interesting. All right, how about some facts about this place? And by facts, I mean I know one thing.
Tell me
The
more. I've
name,
never been here.
Barkada. Okay, I didn't know what that meant, and I actually thought it was like Barkada. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, but it's not. It's Barkada.
Barkada.
And it is a Spanish word, Filipino origin, that means like a group of friends, often who get together and drink. And I've seen the term light debauchery included in that. So that is
That's
a
a French
Barkada.
word. Débaucherie.
Yeah, there you go.
Here we go.
There you go. So that's it. That's Barkada. And like, I'm looking at the environment. I'm like, okay, that feels right. This feels like a place that people could come, have some drinks with their friends, and maybe a little light debauchery. I'm not
like
going to
it.
try to pronounce it. So that's the only fact I have about
The
it.
Filipino or more like Spanish origin or both?
So I think it was a Spanish origin, and it gets used a lot in Filipino.
Got you.
Yeah, that's based on my limited Googling. I'm not an expert, but I
learned
like to have a
something.
couple of little trivia facts where I can.
I like
You
it.
know,
And it's really close to where I live, so I think I'm gonna come back.
it's a cool spot, right?
I like
It's a
it.
great spot. Yeah, I really like it. I want to talk a little more about you being a sommelier, because that is interesting to me. And I love what prompted you. Obviously, you grew up with wine. It's in France. You drink wine.
Yep.
You appreciate a good wine. You probably learn how to appreciate a good wine. So, what was the moment where you're like, you know what, I want to do this? Because it's a stringent thing to pursue, right? You have to get certified and you have tests, right?
That's
Tell me
right.
about it. Yeah, tell me about it.
You have to learn all those regions that you've never heard about in Italy
Right.
for me, because I don't know much about Italian wine.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because you're right. It's been always part of my life. I actually did grow up in a wine region,
Okay.
and my village is well known for a specific Pinot Noir that
That's
we
awesome.
have. So
That's awesome.
I grew up around vines from a distance, right? My family was never in the business, but
Okay.
I think as I grew older, like I think there was that desire to learn more about it and also share that and see how. So I personally love food and
Sure.
I love wine, and
Yeah.
so the first thing I did when I came to the U.S. was like study actually and take a class in like cooking and pastry because I
Cool.
wanted to get
Nice.
better at it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm following that same journey with wine, just the desire to keep on learning.
Yeah.
And I think also I hope that like I'm thinking about like this could be a second career as well, right? It's
love that.
like a lot of places here in the U.S., especially restaurants that are like small size, don't necessarily know how to
Mm-hmm.
choose their wine or offer that wine. So maybe finding a way to make that more
Yeah.
attainable, easy, or exciting for people in a way that's like
Yeah.
non-intimidating or complements their dinner or just
I love that.
would make me excited.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's awesome. How's the journey been so far?
It's been interesting. I learned
Yeah.
a lot. So,
Yeah,
and it's also prompted me to like want to travel almost more because I
cool.
discover all those regions.
Wine-based travel.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
think it's amazing. But you know, it's developed a lot like my analysis about the wine, which is really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
And I've been also very blessed with what I think I have a good palate.
yeah.
I'm able to like break down flavors and scents and all this.
Cool, yeah.
And so that has been a lot of fun, like applying that to
That's
wine.
fun. Yeah, that sounds rewarding. So I have a question. How has your knowledge and background in data impacted you being a sommelier? Do you approach it a little more analytically than most, or do you just totally shut that part of your brain off?
That is, I have no idea. I never
Yeah.
asked myself that question.
Like, do you have a spreadsheet in your mind of? notes and flavors and
There's definitely a lot of data about wine.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the complexity of it.
everything's
but,
data at the end of the day.
But more than I thought for wine. So you have all
Yeah.
those things about like the grapes, how you make it, the
Yeah.
appellations, all those
Sure.
different things. So I think it is probably a little bit more complex than I thought.
Right. Lots of variables.
Yes,
Tons of
that's
them.
exactly it. But no, I think I'm keeping them separate and
were-
just like more the
That's
the
fun.
love of
Sometimes
learning
you got to
something
shut
new.
it off. Yeah, sometimes you shut it off. We toured a wine country in New Zealand, and we went to several wineries, and they were walking us through like, and they were these grapes, and I'm just like, I can't track all this, but I could see. I'm like, I know I'm just scratching the surface on a vast world of deep expertise, and that's pretty cool. It's fun to dive into something like that and tackle,
Yep,
right?
absolutely.
It's just fun. Yeah.
Same way when I started to learn more about data. You know, at
Sure.
first it feels extremely overwhelming
right.
because you're like,
Yeah.
I know enough about data. And I was like the same,
Right.
I know enough about wine. And then you start diving, I was like, I don't think I know that much actually. This is a little overwhelming. So I
right.
think if I had to draw a parallel, it would be more like the discovery and learning journey. Has
Yeah.
been really interesting
Yeah.
and kind of similar on that path of like, wow, there's so much more to it than I initially thought. So.
What's that? There's a curve that's like competency and knowledge, and when you first start something, you're incompetent and not knowledgeable, and then you're competent and unknowledgeable or whatever. And it's like when you're like, I'm an expert, and then you're like, oh wait, I actually don't know anything.
Yes.
And then at your most competent, you're like, I know enough to know how much I don't know, but I now know how to. Someone's gonna correct me on that because there's a name for it. There's a name
Yes,
for that curve.
I can't remember, but I see exactly what
Yeah,
you're talking
I can
about.
picture it. That's
And I think
cool.
I'm probably in a similar place when it comes to data and wine about that.
Yeah.
I have gained way more knowledge of that
Sure.
the past few years, but I
Right.
have still so much to
But your eyes get open to like, oh, there's so much.
right.
But it's really cool. It's a really cool hobby. When you told us, I was like, that's a neat thing to pursue.
Yes.
That's a very different hobby. In addition to that, you ride a motorcycle. So by far the coolest person we've interviewed so far.
Oh my gosh, you've done
Wine
so
and
much research on me,
motorcycle.
Steve. I'm
yeah,
like,
that's right. No offense, Maddie. She's now the coolest person we've interviewed. Tell me about that. When did you first buy a motorcycle? When did you first get into that?
my dad was a motorcycle rider,
Okay,
so was
cool.
my uncle. So I got
Gotcha.
into it. I got my first moped when I was 14, very big in
Oh,
Europe, you
cool.
know.
Yeah,
That's the only
sure.
way you can
Yeah.
go between villages. But yeah, started really young. I just loved it. And then did my motorcycle driver's license when I was 18.
That's awesome.
I've been riding ever since. That's actually how I met my husband.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
when I came to the U.S., we joined the same motorcycle riding,
very
not
cool.
gang, the
Yeah.
group,
Not a gang. Let's
not
be
a gang.
clear.
You know, no.
Yeah.
I love riding. I've been actually it's the only area in my life when I had a lifelong plan about like what motorcycle I was going to drive, what I was going to do.
And you have it now, right?
Yes.
You have your bike.
I have the one I wanted. I think you probably also know that my husband and I took a sabbatical year to
Yeah.
travel the world. So,
That's super cool. What
That
was your
was-
favorite place you visited? I'm sure that's a hard question, I know.
oh my gosh. So, yeah, our journey took us from like Washington, D.C., and then we traveled all the way up to Alaska,
Oh, that's awesome.
which,
This is something I really want to do, by the way. So I'm going to pick your brain about it because
Okay.
I would love to do this.
have you been to Alaska?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you see
I have
how-
family there, so it's Alaska's. It's interesting.
It's wild.
Yeah, but I flew. Did I fly? I was a kid. I was like 9, so I haven't been since I was a kid.
You should definitely.
Yeah.
So I was a little skeptical. I was like, what is there to see there?
Yeah.
And then you go, and it's just that
Yeah,
the space, the last frontier, it comes
That's
to
right.
life. So
that's right.
yeah, so we did that, and then we went down along the east. East west?
So like California 1, like along the coast. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So Canada, California, Mexico, Central America, South America.
That's awesome. That's
So-
so cool.
My biggest love was probably Argentina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Because they're one of the only countries that have all climates, 7 climates.
Mm.
They start with like tropical all the way to like glaciers and almost
Wow. I
Antarctica
didn't realize
at the bottom.
that. That's cool. All right. One day I'm gonna do it. That's it.
You should.
I'm gonna do it.
The food is great there. People are awesome.
Yeah.
They speak Spanish, which is cool.
Sure. I used to know Spanish. I'm so rusty now. My family's from New Mexico, so we grew up kinda. A lot of people spoke it there, but it's all gone. It's all gone. I tried.
It's somewhere in there, Steve.
Yeah,
I know it.
I'm gonna try. All right, we should get back to data. This is a
Okay.
show about data, so let me ask you some more data questions. Let me start with AI. Well, we got to talk about it. Everyone at this point, of course, it's impacting everything. How do you see that impacting the future of banking? What are the biggest industry changes you see coming down the pike as it relates to AI?
I think one path is the same that everybody will have to go through, I think, which is internal efficiencies.
Yeah.
So I think, if I look at just like the amount of like processes that are manual that we have in a bank and how much efficiency we can create, especially in like operations or just product for a bank, I think that's true for any industry. So
Right.
not necessarily like data specific, but at least for us, a community bank, right, that is a little bit smaller where
Right.
we have done for a long time a lot of different manual things, that's a huge opportunity
It
for
can
us
help
to
you
grow.
punch above your weight.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly right,
Yeah.
right? It's just like you have this like suddenly like growth trajectory that like you
Right.
can path for yourself, right? So I think that's one. The other piece is just around probably like all the things that are critical to get right for a bank, which is
Sure.
fraud, security,
Yes.
right? And then the last area for me is just like, what can you offer to customers and leverage AI for that? We talked
Right.
a little bit about earlier is providing that right experience,
Yeah.
providing like the right product and service at the right time.
Right.
This is where AI can be huge, right? And
Sure.
both in the more like, as I mentioned earlier, we have a very like relationship-based community bank.
Which is a big differentiator for a community bank. You're not just some faceless app user.
That's
you have
right.
a relationship.
That's right. And if you couple like the talent and skill set of like of our sales force with like
Right.
AI, then that's
Sure.
like magic happens, I think, right?
Yeah.
And then the other piece is like we also have an all online digital business
Right.
where that too, right? If we can like just be leverage AI to offer the right experience, service, and product, that's going to be amazing as well.
Yeah.
So
That's great. It's going to change everything. It's interesting to see. And let me ask you this, what about the future of data? How do you think it's going to be impacted by AI? Especially like data management, I mean, all those tasks. What do you think? How are we going to be impacted by it?
that's a great question. Data management is so broad, so I'm almost
It is.
yeah.
It is. Yeah, feel free to deep dive on one particular
Into
area.
one.
Yeah.
AI and data.
Well, and I'll get you started with some thoughts, and you can tell me you agree or disagree. I think data management is a hard sell sometimes because it's challenging sometimes to see the ROI. It's challenging to, we can see it. We're like, data quality matters, but then it's like, well, is the juice always worth the squeeze? Like, how much are we willing to let through? Data quality wise is a very simple calculation, but then you're selling things like, well, we need a master data management strategy, and I'm sorry, there's lots of LinkedIn articles, but ROI for that stuff is challenging. It's kind of like, it should be done, but when someone says, cool, but how much money is this going to save me, that's actually really hard to get to. I think AI is dramatically going to reduce the barrier of entry to those types of things. I think data quality could become so easy to do in 2 years' time with an AI tool.
I see
Just
what you're
like,
saying.
I don't have to define every single rule anymore. AI is like, well, this is a this, and I'm going to solve this, and this is a, here's all my rules. Can you just double check me? And you're like, yeah, those are all right. Cool. Now data quality is solved in 10% of the time it used to take. I think a lot of data management issues are going to be solved because at the end of the day, they're often very discrete problems. They're the types of problems that are pretty good at being solved by data. So, some of them are very cerebral and maybe more, like, I don't know, a business glossary might be a little harder for it. I don't know. I'm rambling now, but what do you think about that?
No, it's interesting because I thought about it the other way. What I'm hearing from you is like, what can AI do for data, right?
Yeah.
And it's and because that's how we started our journey last year, more around like, what can data do for
Sure.
AI to be
Yeah,
powerful
that's
and
right,
work,
that's right, yeah.
I thought about it more that way because I think that's where we are today, unfortunately. Like, it's more about like, how can we have that amazing baseline and data to feed into AI? But I think that
I
makes
don't
total
think
sense
the
to me.
industry's quite there. I think it's coming. Some of the tools, some of the like data catalog tools, like we now with AI, but I don't think what I'm describing yet really exists. I think
Yeah.
it's starting to in pockets, but that's the vision I have. In 5 years, I think data management could be really straightforward. I don't know for sure.
I love it because, like I
Maybe.
said, people don't really like either get it or are passionate about it, right?
Right.
It's just like, oh, another thing I have to
Yeah,
worry
right,
about, right?
right.
So if you're saying, hey, you outsource that to AI,
Right.
and the quality is amazing, that's pretty good. And then
Right.
and you also get to like take care of all the back book of what you had
Right.
for years. And
Yeah.
No, I like how you think about it.
Yeah,
It makes a lot of
maybe.
sense.
Who knows, right? Maybe some things are easier to solve than others, but like to me, data quality, those are pretty discrete. They're kind of rules. they're, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. It's
We
exciting.
should have that conversation again in a
5
few
years.
5
Reminder,
years, is that
set
what
a
we're doing?
reminder, 5 years. We're going to see how data management is in the state of AI.
Do you realize that's a scary number? It's 2030 you're talking about.
I know. Yeah, but that's not that far away anymore.
I know.
That seems so far away. Not anymore. That's wild.
Same place?
Yeah, same place. Barkada, can we get a reservation for 2030, please, while we're here?
Love it.
Yeah. Last question.
All right.
What advice would you give to someone just getting into data? And I know that's broad, maybe, let's say maybe getting into product even right now, because what advice would you give to someone getting into product right now, 2025? I just got out of college. I'm really interested in product. Caroline, what should I be thinking about?
Product or data?
How about,
Can I choose?
this is a data podcast. Let's talk about it.
Let's do data,
Let's
right?
go back to
Come on.
data. I'm just trying to tie it into, because I think product and data are like this, but.
Yeah, no, but it's interesting because, like I said, I started more product focused, right? But
Right.
I think for me, it was like when I started like really more focusing on data as a role, and
Right.
even having it like, officially into my like purview or responsibility. The
Yeah.
advice I would give is like, it's probably like, don't be scared, don't be overwhelmed,
yeah.
don't be like intimidated.
Right.
Because if you think more about like, hey, I've been using data all along, right? And like think about like, what is data enabling?
Yeah.
What business strategy or purpose or user am I enabling with it?
Right.
And focus on that. I think for me, that was way easier to
Yeah.
start like that. And
makes
then
sense.
getting into like more the technical aspect of it and the
Right.
all the aspect that we talked about, like management and governance, and so
I
that's how would
have
think
just
about it.
realized something. I admire you are very brave. You came to the States, you got a motorcycle, you dove into being a sommelier, you jumped into data, you toured the world for a year.
Adventurous, maybe?
I think you're adventurous. Yeah,
with a
sure.
hint of
Is
bravery?
data adventurous? Yeah.
I think
But
it
that's
is.
great advice, I think, for someone coming into is to not be timid, right?
Life is fun, you know.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, there's so much, right?
Yeah,
and
that's
so
right. That's
I
right.
like trying new things, and worst can happen, you don't like it, and you try something else. So
That's right. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
It was such a pleasure to be here.
All right. Well, until next time, let's toast to knowledge and connection, one episode at a time.
Cheers, santé.
Santi.